This is Houghton Cut. It's possible everyone watching this instantly recognises it. You may have driven through it 1,000 times and may or may not have noticed this lich gate. While the good people of Houghton are very familiar with it, not many other people across the city have walked through it. Behind it lies the Hillside cemetery, which is completely unlike any other cemetery in Sunderland, or probably anywhere. Stroll through about 40 metres of dense forest, and there it is. About 2 football pitches worth of cemetery. It's quite deceptive at first. It appears to be quite sparsely populated, if that's the word, but there are actually around 7,000 people buried in this cemetery. Look to the left as you enter and you can see why it's called the Hillside Cemetery. It's also a popular site for rock climbers. The cemetery is not random. It was the idea of a Prime Minister's nephew in the 1850s. Magnesium limestone, which forms the cliff face, has been quarried here for centuries. But the Houghton rector, the Reverend John Gray, whose uncle was Earl Gray, campaigned for part of the old quarry to be consecrated as a new graveyard. Houghton's existing graveyards were full. 19th century cholera outbreaks had seen to that. It wasn't a universally popular idea, not least with local bigwig, brewery owner and committed cemetery objector Thomas William Usherwood Robinson, who fiercely denounced the idea, claiming that no one would want to be buried in a quarry. Nevertheless, Gray had influence and got his way with the help of Home Secretary and future Prime Minister, the great Lord Palmerston. The cemetery was consecrated in September 1854 by, for some reason, the Bishop of Exeter. But this was only after Robinson had called Gray a double-dyed, disgraceful and deceitful priest. He knew how to deliver an insult in those days. Robinson died in 1888. And guess where they buried him? And guess which clergyman conducted the funeral? The Reverend Gray rests here too. A number of notable burials were carried out here between 1854 and the last one in 1971. These include Joseph Bland Pearson, an auctioneer who was decapitated in a train accident near South Houghton station in 1897. William Shanks, a global superstar of mathematics, was buried here in 1882. He calculated pi to 707 decimal places, although in 1944 it was discovered that Shanks was only correct for the first 527 digits. Don't you just hate it when that happens? Other internees include Crimean War veteran George Wheatley and 3 murder victims, including a 2-year-old girl. Lifespans of the deceased range from 96 years down to just 1 minute. Unfortunately, only a fraction of those buried here are easy to find. Gravity, neglect and the weather have put paid to most of the headstones, assuming the deceased had a headstone in the first place. Many were simply too poor. An exception to this is the man here in the largest and probably the most ostentatious tomb in the whole of the cemetery. This is Sir George Eliot's resting place. He was a pit worker made good. He eventually became a colliery owner, wire rope manufacturer, Conservative MP, baronet and influential friend of Benjamin Disraeli. He died in 1893, but only after altering the course of history by persuading Disraeli to buy shares in the Suez Canal. But the most famous Hillside Cemetery story is of this man, William Standish, gloriously named twice. He was a landowner from Cocken Hall near Finkel. Legend has it, i.e. it isn't true, that he rode his horse over the cliff to his death, where he was buried, where he landed, in 1856. He is indeed buried at the foot of the cliff, but the story takes some believing. It also has the obligatory tale of William's ghost haunting the cemetery, although that is untroubled by evidence also. Skeptics point out that horses are intelligent animals and are known to pull up at a fence at Kempton Park, therefore they'll be unlikely to leap to their certain death from a 50-foot cliff. Good story though. At first you might assume that the graves end where this thicket begins. Not so. If you walk through here, there are quite a number of other graves well hidden, and among them some Commonwealth War graves. One thing visitors can't fail to notice is this memorial, which is not a war memorial as it first might appear. It's actually dedicated to the miners of Houghton who died between 1823 and 1981. It's probably the most secluded memorial you'll find anywhere in Sunderland. To use a cliche, this is one of Sunderland's hidden gems. We recommend a visit, and not just because it's free. But please remember, it's a graveyard, a place for reflection and tranquility as well as historical interest. It isn't here for barbecues, BMX bikes or playing the top 40 on stereos. It doesn't have bins either, so please take your little home with you.